Hey, Paul, this is Ryan with TrendLizard.com. Thanks for sending me the email and the nice comments, and thanks for reaching out to take a look at a couple, one stock and then one crypto. Obviously, the big guy, Bitcoin. We're going to first take a look at AGQ, which is the ProShares Ultra Silver ETF, and then we'll follow that up with Bitcoin. So we'll start here with AGQ. And the first thing I want to show you is the blue line is AGQ, and then this light orange line is SLV, which is the ETF that we track every day. So as we go, obviously, along at TrendLizard.com, you can follow SLV, and that analysis is going to be very comparable because, as you can see, they generally trade lockstep with one another, maybe some different magnitudes, but largely the pattern itself is the same, so keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and take a look at AGQ just as by itself and apply the Elliott Wave Theory to see where it might be. So the decline itself has been a very large move from 2011 down to 2020. A couple different ways to label this. The labeling that I have gone with on SLV calls it an ABC X ABC. Now, I'd be remiss by just saying that's the one and only way you can label this. It's very difficult to look at this and say it is clearly a counter trend move, especially with the damage that's happened from high to low there. That's a pretty big descent. You could label it a different way. Let's try. You could label it as a trendy 5-wave decline to the downside. I can't tell you that there's a great way to decide which one is the case and which one is not, but I think for most purposes, it's not a deal breaker either way. So if we look back at this here, if this is a counter trend move, the implication then is if this counter trend move is over, the trend turns up, it's going to head all the way back up to the 2011 high. Obviously, that's a very big move. I'm not positive that that's ever going to happen, but let's see what happens if it's a trendy move. If it's a trendy move and it ended, well, then you're going to get a counter trend recovery, and that's going to end all the way up here. That's basically about 300 up to 480. So either way, you could get a substantial up move, even if this is a downtrend. And I think, therefore, the focus needs to be just on what's happening off the 2020 low, not waste too much time on worrying what this is because we're not going to be able to figure that out. What matters is what's happening to the upside. And if this move can stay constructive and potentially trendy, then it's a good trade. It may ultimately prove to be a counter trend move, but if it stays trendy on a shorter time frame, then it's a tradable proposition. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this action off the 2020 low. So that up leg seems apparently trendy to me. I mean, it's a super sharp move. It went from about 1250 up to about 7250 in short order. That was in 2020. Since then, it has struggled. It's moved more sideways, but it's certainly subtracted quite a bit of value over that time, about 50% of its value. But it seems fairly apparent that this is trendy movement. This looks like counter trend movement. It started as an ABC move to the downside. Then you had some choppy upside action that looks like a B wave. And then this really drawn out move in 2021 that's had several opportunities to complete. It just never has so far, at least. It's tried to come down here, could have completed here with the C wave, bounced back up, came down here, could have ended here, didn't. Tried to bounce, came right back down, could have ended here, didn't. Tried to bounce again, and once again, it's proving that it has not. So it's one of those moves that seems like just is having a really tough time completing. I don't know exactly when it's going to end. It looks to me like it could be nearing an end, but I've thought that before, and it becomes pretty difficult to be confident that a low is in until you actually see some trendy upside movement that's happening to the upside that suggests something has finally changed. As is, nothing has changed. We have to expect a larger correction. It has already retraced a little bit more than 61.8% of this up leg here, which I don't love, but I think it's still fairly clear. This is trendy. This is counter trend movement. Once this counter trend move ends, we have to look for the resumption of trendy upside movement back above this high and beyond once this completes. So basically, the task is just finding when this down move has completed. So far it hasn't, but let's go ahead and zoom in at just the most recent action here. This takes a look at the back and forth over the last few months. You can see this bounce here in October, November, proved to be an ABC move, had a chance to be a 5-wave move. It wasn't. We know that because it was completely retraced. And then once it set a new low, again, it started out constructively, but in the end, this recovery off of December's low into January's high is just a 3-wave move. So as long as we're only seeing 3-wave moves to the upside, we know that the uptrend has not resumed, because once the uptrend does resume, we'll see trendy upside legs and counter trend downside legs, And that's just something that has not happened for this guy, and that's why the pullback has not completed. So it's hard to say exactly when it's going to end. I would like to think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But again, I'd like to see probably a new low set and then some trendy upside movement, followed by a counter trend down pullback, one that doesn't retrace the entire up leg. Obviously, you want to see just a little counter trend move and then a move to the upside. And if it's able to get above 45 at any point, that's going to be a bullish indication. Obviously, you're not waiting for that. That's a long ways away from here, but that would be some confirmation down the road that things are looking up and very likely a low is in. But until you start seeing some trendy upside movement, I'd be careful here because it looks like it wants to head lower. So there is AGQ, the Ultra Silver ETF. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. We have done this recently. We'll do an update for you here. This looks at the data that we have back to 2014, put in its all-time low in 2015. Gave us a nice trendy 5-wave move to the upside that completed in late 2017. That was followed by a large ABC pullback. Since then, off of that low in I think late 2018, had a first wave up, second wave down, deep retracement on that second wave, and then a 5-wave up for wave 3. And since then, we have been in a 4th wave pullback that's gone net sideways. Obviously, some massive swings. Every time it goes down, it loses 50%. Every time it goes up, it gains 100%. Now it's lost about 50% again. But from the looks of it, this is a counter trend move within an ongoing uptrend, despite the damage that has happened. And I'll show you why we think that. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. This takes a look at just this pullback here off of that 2021 high. And what we're seeing is we're seeing a down move, an up leg, and then another down move, which to me looks like one large ABC flat correction. Now, some people have asked me, and you might wonder, if this is wave 3, how come this can't be wave 4 and this wave 5, and then a bigger high is already in place? And the reason I'm not going with that possibility is the look of this recovery off of July's low into November's high. If you look at it, looks like an ABC move, pretty much clear as day. So if this is a 3-wave move, how could it be a 5th wave? To me, it can't, because if it's a 5th wave, it should be a trendy 5-wave pattern. This looks like an ABC move. The only way that really fits in my book is as a B wave, and that's why we're looking at it as an A, B, C. Now, that wave C could be getting closer to a low. We're starting to see some strength over the last handful of sessions. Could be at a low, potentially. I don't think it is yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at this down leg here to see, because this down leg should become a 5-wave move before it completes. And if we look at the details here, always hard to say in a move this sharp exactly what's going on, but looks like a first, a second, maybe a third, and then a 4th to the upside here with a 5th wave down still to come. The only thing that would change that for me to make me think that a low is already in is if it can continue. If this action could look trendy for one, but I think the real giveaway would be a move above 44,420 to the upside, because then this no longer would fit as a 4th wave recovery. So that's what we'd be looking for. And absent that or some clear trendy upside movement, I think we have to respect the potential that another down leg will occur before this completes. So let's go ahead and zoom in at just the most recent action here. This looks at that bounce that's happened just over the last week or so. Hard to be too determinate exactly what it is, but the more important reason that I'm showing you this, probably the recovery's not over, whatever's happened to the upside here. But what I'm trying to show you is this level here, 35,250. A move below that level at any point would confirm that the overall pullback's not yet over. So that's the important thing to take away. So you have those key levels on both sides of the market. So we will see how it does. I expect it to continue a little bit lower still, maybe one final leg to the downside. Then we'll be looking for some trendy upside movement as an indication that it's time to be more serious and accumulate some more positions on Bitcoin or however else you want to trade it, GBTC or is it BITO or whatever the new ETF is. There's obviously a handful of different ways to do it, but that's what we'll be looking at. So I hope that is helpful, Paul. Have a wonderful evening. For anybody else who's not yet a member at TrendLizard.com, come visit us. We do this stuff every day. We apply the Elliott Wave Theory to 71 different instruments, stocks, ETFs, cryptos, tell you what they're doing, where they should be going based on the Elliott Wave Theory to create low risk, high potential reward scenarios. So have a good night, y'all. Talk to you soon.